Hi everyone, VortexTCG here, and today I've got a gameplay video of my local trip, my trip to locals. And in my first game I thought I would put up, because I thought it was quite interesting. It's going to be me playing Yellow Vaccine, and my opponent on the right is going to be playing WarGreymon X Antibody. If you're looking forward to this video, please do like and subscribe. The support is greatly appreciated. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers, which is a huge milestone, so thank you all for the support over the past couple of months. Anyways, we're gonna get into the turn. I play MagnaAngemon, and then my opponent goes Agu, then Tai, then Training. Seeing the Omnimon there is very nice, because now I feel a little bit more safer, because if he was to go into a big stack, well, essentially that means it's very unlikely that's going to happen, but he has left me with a lot of memory here, so I promote here, use the Patamon effect, which allows me to look at the security and digivolve into a vaccine for no cost. And this is the big combo of the deck, obviously. Just being able to digivolve from security for free, essentially, is very, very nice. And in combination, we have the Angemon here, so that's pretty nice as well. So I then put the Geogray to, I think I messed up here. I think I'm supposed to, yeah, because that's supposed to go to the bottom. I think I'm just making sure about effects, because I think here I was potentially a little bit confused. But essentially I've got to shuffle and then put it on. So I then do that and then put that to the top. And so now it is just a case of gaining all the effects at this point. So I have a pretty good turn here. Obviously I can get 2 swings here, but yeah, so I gain a memory and also draw a card that I've already done. There you go, there it is. So yeah, again, this is just my first time playing the deck in person, so I was kind of getting the grasp of this deck, and just so I can make a guide later on, if you're looking forward to a guide for Yellow Vaccine, because I've been playtesting this deck quite a lot online, and this is my first time playing it at locals. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm looking to make a starter guide for this deck, so let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. But I'm going to swing at security here with the Angemon. It is a tie, which can be pretty bad in this situation. It depends on what my opponent's follow-up turn is, because if it is something huge, then, well, it can be problematic. So at this point, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what do I want to do here, essentially, what kind of stuff that I want to do. But I go into Cutemon here just to apply some extra pressure, but also basically nullify the training card that he has out in delay. This way he can't go into a big stack as easily as he would with the training card out. So I feel pretty good about that, but I'm going to pass the turn here by playing, I'm considering it, there's a card in there, I'm considering it. I think here I'm also considering swing with the MagnaAngemon here, because if I do swing with the MagnaAngemon, I can pass turn that way, but also I can also apply a little bit more pressure, and the Cutemon play here is obviously very nice now because there are 2. I then go Seraphimon, give him 4, and then I just recover 1. So in this case I feel a lot more better, just because it essentially feels like he can't really do that much. So I was just checking out what the Agumon does here, but it turned out he didn't really draw very well because he doesn't have an Agumon here. So he swings into security. I'm thinking about doing the Magna Ace here. I have to keep them on their toes, but it hits a Pillowmon and draws, but it does die. So important to know that the Koromon, you still get the draw when you still check security by battle, but if it checks it through security, you do not get the draw, so keep that in mind. He then just hard plays a WarGreymon, and at this point I think it's very clear what the game plan is. It's just a case of, can I win this turn, because my opponent is hard playing Metal Grey, and that's 7k I believe, so I can easily delete it with a Seraphimon trigger as well. So it's just a case of, do I have enough to slow him down, essentially? Unfortunately, the MagnaAngemon is not a virus, so I can't get the bonus from the Angemon, but I can still delete the Angemon to do minus 5k, and then the Angemon would be put into security, which means that I can then use the Seraphimon to then do minus 7k, deleting it, pretty much confirming the game there. So it's just a case of, do I do that? Because that is the key thing about this game. But I'm in a really good position, obviously. Like, there's no doubt about it. I'm above 5 security. I think I'm on 6 or 7 right now. And my opponent is hard playing stuff. So it just feels like he doesn't have much of an answer. So at this point, I'm just thinking, what else can I do here just to confirm the game? Because I know this might seem a little bit BM or, you know, in bad taste, but we're both trying to learn here because my opponent has only just started coming back to the tournaments. And I'm trying to learn how to, you know, figure out different lines, essentially, instead of just doing the normal stuff, essentially. So I hope that makes sense. But here I'm just thinking, I will swing, I will use the Angemon effect. I'm just making sure he doesn't go for the security to do minus 5k here, to then put this at the top of security. And then as I do the top of security, I can do minus 7k to this, so it deletes it. And it might seem BM, but it's just so that I can get, like, aware in play anyway. So I swing 2 times at 12k. The first one's Louis, which his security is really stacked, it turns out, but unfortunately he just doesn't have the cards, and he has an Agumon X there. I think I'm thinking about swinging here with the Cutemon, but maybe I don't want to be that greedy. Maybe I just want to hold out until the next turn because I kind of want to make sure that, you know, my opponent doesn't have the answer, essentially. So I think at this point, like, I have a lot of cards in hand that can do something, but yeah, it doesn't really matter in the end of it. But yeah, I'm just going to the max I can, go to free by playing this, and then just do minus blanket 5k to everything. So this pretty much slows down my opponent completely because he can't go into rookies to search, and even if he was to go into a rookie, he cannot search. That's the rules of the game. So ruin mode really closes it out here. So he goes Greymon, goes to 1, and then goes Metal Grey, and now I pretty much have game. All I need to do is swing, and then I swing at security for game 1. We then get into game 2, and my opponent's going to start off with an Agumon in raising, and then he's going to pass the turn by playing a tie, which gives him the black source that he might need for future turns. I'm going to start off by playing the Patamon, and then I think here I'm just considering some stuff about security stacks, because I think we were talking about yellow vaccine, and yeah, so I add the top card on my security, which I don't know what it was at this point, but I get to put one back, and my opponent tells me, like, yeah, you should probably be a little bit more discreet about that because I saw what you put, and I was like, that's not good. So yeah, he goes into WarGreymon X Antibody, allows him to do some searching, but he gets the WarGreymon here, but I don't think that's what he was looking for. I think at this point he was lacking a level 4, so he was trying to desperately look for those. So he goes into another Agumon here, and then he is not able to find another level 4. So I should definitely be using this knowledge to my advantage, but in this turn, I probably make the worst play that I could do. I'll explain when I get to it, but in my build of this deck, I play Angemon from BT8. The reason why I play this is because it actually helps in 2 to 3 different scenarios. It helps with board clearance, so you can return a level 3 to your opponent's hand, which can be very nice when they're playing against stuff like D-Brigade, but also cards in this situation is also very nice as well. You also get to recover 1 if you're 3 or less, which means you're able to, you know, regain some mid-game to late-game pressure. And it's also a vaccine, so it works out pretty well here. So what I decide to do here is swing at security here and use the MagnaAngemon effect to bounce back the WarGreymon X Antibody here. And this is a big misplay because if my guy was to die into security, I would pretty much lose on the spot, in my opinion. I had the Rise Grey X in my hand, so all I needed to do was essentially go into that. But unfortunately, I was at 0 memory, so I could have been a bit more greedy here maybe, but unfortunately, because I returned it, he was able to search again. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't die in security. If it didn't die in security, I'll be able to then go into the WarGreymon X, clear his board, and he wouldn't be able to get the stack he has going on in security at this point. So a very unfortunate situation for me. Definitely shouldn't have been as greedy as I was there, but you know, you learn from these mistakes, and I think that's important when it comes to playing the Digimon card game. Learning about these things as you go along, seeing where your limits are and stuff like that, I think is incredibly important, and I've learned that now, to say the least. So I decide to go into Angemon for a cost of 1. Unfortunately, I don't have the vaccine in security, and this is one of the issues that this deck can have sometimes. If you're not able to get your resources going a lot more quickly, you'll end up getting to these situations where you don't have enough things in your security to digivolve from your Patamons. So this is why the BT14 Angemon is pretty good in this deck, because essentially it allows you to get a guaranteed one in your security when it dies, but in this situation, haven't been able to find it. So, a bit unfortunate, but is what it is. Apologies for the glare, by the way, they're both TKs there. So I swing, I'm thinking about swinging in here, but I'm thinking, yeah, I decide to crash into this. The reason why I do this is because I don't want to provide a body for raid, because if I provide a body for raid, he gets a lot of benefits from that, and that would be really bad. But unfortunately, I think in this game state, I don't really have much choice to give him a body, unfortunately, because if I don't give him, if I don't play this Patamon, I probably won't get the surges that I need in following turns. So unfortunately, I do have to play one, but yeah, it is a bit unfortunate in that regard, but hey, you've got to play to your outs, and unfortunately, one of the outs here was to go into Patamon, but my opponent has a huge stack here, goes into the X Antibody, which then allows him to go into the X Antibody WarGreymon, which we kind of get what we're getting at now. He's going to go for his OTK turn potentially. It's just a case of, does he have all the stuff he needs? At this point, I'm pretty sure he's doing additional free checks, but he decides to swing at security, goes into the WarGreymon X. He swings into the Angemon here, which makes sense. And then I'm able to get effects going. There, I play the TK from security, which allows me to search, and then recover 1. But this is a weird interaction that we actually have here. As I'm taking cards from my security, my opponent is also gaining memory, which is... It's kind of weird, because the WarGreymon says when a card is removed from security, you get to gain a memory, and as you're removing cards from stuff like the TK and other cards as well, you're essentially losing yourself a memory when you do that when WarGreymon X is on the field. So it feels very, very unfortunate in that regard, but you know, one of those interactions in the deck. And I kind of like the fact that there is like this kind of interaction in the game, surprisingly. We don't see that much of it, in my opinion. So at this point, I know the game is pretty much over, and I think the game is pretty much over just due to the fact that I made that big misplay earlier in the game, but that's fine. You know, we learn from these mistakes. So I go into Patamon here. The reason why I don't go into from Hybrid is because I need that -2k DP to get rid of the Agumon, because in my mind, the only way that he wins this game from this point, is if he unsuspends. And the only way he can unsuspend is by essentially getting a Omnimon. And at this point, he hasn't shown that he has Omnimon, so... You know, it's just one of those things where I'm just like trying to play to my outs as much as possible, because if he has that body on the field, well, that means I pretty much lose. So just playing to the outs as much as I can. And it also applies a little bit of pressure, but you know, it is what it is. So he goes into the offense training, which is unfortunate, and then I play the Cutemon to reduce the cost if he does have anything else. Goes into the Agu, swings at security through the Patamon, and then hits the Omnimon for game. Alright, and so now we're in game 3, I get to start, which is probably the best start for me, which is Patamon and then TK. This allows me to get my stuff sorted, but also essentially gives me a guaranteed Patamon Digivolve for free, which is pretty huge in this deck as it turns out. So he goes into the WarGreymon X Antibody, but as you might have noticed, he's playing WarGreymon X Antibody, which means he doesn't have a Greymon, which means... we love that, because he doesn't gain any protection, and that is quite important. But the interesting thing about this matchup is the fact that in this situation, it wouldn't matter because I delete things by DP reduction, and unfortunately you can't stop that against WarGrey. So I feel pretty good about this, and I go into the WarGreymon X here. He gave me a lot of memory, so I'm able to just play a tamer out. I don't get to do minus DP, obviously, but there is nothing on the field, so it feels pretty good. So here, I think I'm just considering playing the TK from one of the older sets, and now I play the new one here, which allows me to put one and then return one. And the reason why is because I want to continue getting my resource going, and it also keeps my turn because I'm able to then go into the Seraphimon for essentially free, which it's just crazy in this deck. Allows me to recover one, and now I'm at, 6 security. Get to swing 2 times, hit an offensive training, and hits a Greymon. And, when you have this kind of pressure in the game, you just feel like you're a bit unstoppable, if I'm being perfectly honest. Because, what is your opponent meant to do in this situation? Just getting 2 security checks for essentially free, then putting the Digimon down to reduce the cost, and then able to play TK to pass the turn. So I'm guaranteed free on the following turn. It's a little bit crazy, to say the least. So, yeah, I passed the turn with 4, and I notice here the glare, unfortunately, so I try and fix that. If I do post any more gameplay videos of Yellow Vaccine, this will be fixed in the future. So, he plays the tie, and then also Digivolves into the Metal Grey, and that is my cue to say, we're off to the races, because at this point, it becomes quite clear that my opponent doesn't have an answer to what I am doing. So now it's just a case of I play the option card here again, allows me to go into the Angemon and recover 1. That allows me to get a net positive of 1 memory because of the TKs, which is insane itself. And I also get another security check because of the Seraphimon. Don't tell me this deck isn't broken or anything like that. It's definitely not, trust me. I think here I'm just considering the effects here, so I use both of them to gain the memory. I think at this point I was at 5 memory, so I can go into the I'm actually at 3 memory, sorry. Able to play another tamer out. It is another TK, which is the set to free one, but it doesn't really matter at this point. Then I go into, I think here I pass the turn or swing first, hits the next antibody, which makes the math a little bit more difficult in this situation, but don't think it really matters. So I just play a Patamon to pass the turn, because I don't think I had all the pieces that I was needing. I didn't have the Shine Greymon, for example. I didn't have the WarGreymon X to play the tamer out again, so I think in this situation it was that. But my opponent is still struggling for a lot of cards because he's playing the Agumon out here, which is not great because now, he's got the pieces now, unfortunately. For me, but it's not great. So swings, unsuspends because of the raid, and then is able to do additional. No, he can't do additional checks because he doesn't have piercing, so very unfortunate. Then he swings and then goes into the WarGreymon X, deletes the stack, and then swings into it and then deletes the stack. Then I'm able to put one in the security, I believe. I'm thinking about it, and I do put that there. So just pretty much guarantees it for me, and then I'm able to pass the turn. So it does have blocker, which is important, but can I get rid of the blocker? Let's find out, shall we? So at this point, it's just a case of I look at the security, see if there's anything there. I digivolve into the Angemon here, which is very, very nice, and then able to put more in, gain some memory, draw some cards, which is very, very nice. Get to tap 2, which allows me to gain 2 memory as well. So I'm in the driver's seat here, obviously. Feeling very, very strong in my board position. Even though my opponent has a big stack, I don't really feel very scared because all I essentially need is a hybrid. Could get the hybrid, obviously, but I could also potentially do more here. So at this point, I'm just trying to think about, can I delete the WarGreymon stack? I do have the MagnaAngemon in hand. I decided to go into the training boost, which is the which allows me to either get the tamer or the MagnaAngemon here. The reason why I'm doing this is because if I can just find the hybrid here, I mean, I can pretty much win, I think. So I then just go into the Shadow Seraphi here, because essentially what's going to happen here is that my opponent is going to swing into security with, the Omnimon here, and then when he does, he gets to de-digivolve, and then he goes to delete the Shadow Seraphimon. But in that case, I'm also able to delete the WarGreymon because of how many security I have in the first place due to minus in DP. So it de-digivolves, deletes the stack, and then I'm able to do minus DP. So I've essentially cleared the board, which feels very, very good. So I'm just using effects here, put it at the top of security, and then I get to recover one and then do minus, I think, what, 28k essentially? And yeah, I think we're just checking math here. And at this point, yeah, I think it's pretty good. So just past the turn, he gets the Greymon, gets the Patamon, and I'm just looking for the hybrid. Can I get the hybrid? Is the hybrid there? Who knows? Maybe I'm just bluffing with the hybrid. No, I wouldn't definitely be doing that with the hybrid. But I played the Cutemon here. The reason why I'm just doing this is because I just want a guaranteed. And then I play the Pillow as well. Apologies for the glare. Goes into Grey X, gets to gain a memory, gets the rookie of Agu X. And I was just thinking if he can clear both of the boards, or both of the Digimon, I assume, because maybe he can also play a blocker. Goes into Metal X, and then I win the game.